Yeah. Grind to get a lot of dough, endure through all the obstacles, cause anything is possible. Yeah. Oh man, I got a lot of goals. Stack that bread and vomit nose. Anything is possible.
All right, we're back. Equity Brothers, part 2 on how to invest tomorrow. How you feeling, Goody?
I'm good. We got a lot of information to get out here, so
yeah,
I'm excited about jumping into this and making sure that everybody gets the information they need.
Yeah, how to invest tomorrow? Let's get into it.
Let's talk about fix and flip. So, we talk about long-term rental, short-term rental.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people and there's a lot of creative funding for this. It's very easy to get into. It's very easy to start.
Right.
But this is where it starts to get a little difficult. You've got to have a lot of connections. You got to be on top of it. I know you've had some personal experience that maybe hasn't been great on your end. So talk about fix and flips, talk about some of the pitfalls that can go along with that, and talk about some of the things that you need to make sure that you have lined up if you're going to look into doing some of that.
Right. So I'll preface this by saying this is another topic that's very hot. Everybody wants to flip a house. Thanks to HGTV and all these television shows. Flipping a home is not as easy as people think it is, right? Like, it's just not. One, make sure your entry price is as low as possible. That's the first step. Of course, I mean, everybody say, hey, that's obvious, but it's really not. Two, I tell people, have at least 3 exit strategies. At least 3 exit strategies on an investment property you're planning on flipping, because the market could change. So let's give real life examples. We're flipping a home right now. We got in at like 270, right? So the exit strategy there is one, feasibly we could wholesale it with disclosing everything. I could wholesale that property. Two,
before we get too far down that, what is wholesaling? Talk to people about what wholesaling is.
So wholesaling is different because we're both agents, so we have to disclose everything we do via wholesaling. I personally never have wholesaled a property, but I like to have that in my back pocket if I need to exit that way. So wholesaling essentially is if you tell somebody like, hey, I'm coming to you off market. I'd like to give you $200,000 for your property. What you do is you get that under contract with them. And again, full disclosure, right? If you don't have a real estate license, you really don't have to disclose too much. And then you tell them, hey, look, I'm gonna shop your property around. You assign that contract to somebody. So say if I have a place under contract at $200K, I go tell somebody, hey, look, I got a property. I'll give it to you at $230. You assign them that contract. Once they close, you get that buffer in the middle. You get that $30K without having to spend a penny of your money. That's real high level explanation there, which a lot of people wholesale and make substantial amount of money.
So just to be clear, you don't actually buy the property.
No.
You get the property under contract, and you are, for lack of a better term, you're selling that contract.
Yeah, you're middleman.
And then sometimes it'll be like you just sold the contract, you get the check at the closing day and get out.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll do it's a double closing, which means you buy the property and then it immediately sell it.
Correct.
And those are just 2 different ways that wholesales go down. But just wanted to give that definition to people before we got too far down the road.
That is and really we need to get Abram and Paul on the show to explain wholesaling. They're some of the most efficient off-market acquisition guys that I've met. They're experts at the wholesaling game. But once you get in, like I said initially, you want to get in as low as possible. So 1 exit strategy for us, we could wholesale it. 2, we could execute the initial plan, which is fix and flip. 3, we could go a long-term rental route. 4, even get a little deeper, depending on zoning and your regulations, we could develop on it. So we have 4 exit strategies here. But when you fix and flip, this is what I always suggest. You have to have a good team. You got to have a good GC. You have to. Because when you get in there, we had a GC that told us, look, man, we'll be in and out in 4 weeks, right? So hypothetically, say if we would have budgeted for a 4-week project, right? We would be upside down like crazy. And this project is hilarious. But nonetheless, we went through 3 GCs on this project.
So sometimes the cheapest and the fastest
is not the best. Nah, you want to spend. You want to spend a little bit more. Budget and spend for quality. Prepare for holding costs. Because the thing is, We can get into it's so many caveats to this and different like intersections we could go, but your hard money costs, which we can get into hard money, you're going to be paying a lot, right? We've been paying almost $3,000 a month holding this for carrying costs. So
and hard money loans are interest only loans. Mm-hmm. So when you're paying that $3,000 a month, you're not chipping away at what you owe. You're just simply paying for the right to hold this property.
And hard money, you want to get in and out with hard money. You don't want to stay in on hard money. Not at all.
Listen, I'm stuck in a hard money hold right now, and it is it's ugly, but I'll get out of that soon. And definitely want to get in and out as quick as possible. So when you're flipping homes, and I think it's also important to mention, a lot of what we're going to talk about is going to be based on the current Nashville market.
Correct.
Fix and flip or long-term holds are a great idea. Just another market we talked about before, Milwaukee, a drastically different market. Mm-hmm. Nashville is a market that increases in value fairly rapidly versus Milwaukee. There's almost no appreciation. Really? It's very limited appreciation, higher taxes. But because of that, your purchase prices are going to be far lower. Your margins and cash flows are going to be higher, but you're not going to make as much money by turning the property over.
Gotcha.
So just understand that, for people listening from different parts of the country, your market does determine your exit strategy.
Correct.
So you need to know whether you're going in to keep this for long term and you're going to make money monthly, that's your goal, or whether you want to get out of it and be able to sell it in a year and actually profit off of that. So those are two drastically different scenarios, situations, and areas.
Right.
But make sure that you are working with somebody. We cannot overstate making sure that you are working with a qualified agent that understands the market, understands the different strategies that we're talking about, and can talk you through why one is a good idea and one's a bad idea. It's very important to make sure that you are working with somebody who is educated and constantly up on doing things the right way.
Correct. Yeah, and essentially a local expert. Like if I'm going to an agent, right, and I'm a novice consumer or buyer, I'm going to go to an agent that's flipped the house personally before. And most agents, and I'm not saying some agents can't get it done, but you want somebody that's experienced it, because when you fall flat, you need somebody that's going to be able to pick you back up or give you a route to show you how to get back on your feet. But my personal flip experience was a failure. And that's really where you learn. Like, you really do learn by that, right? I was novice in trusting the GC to say, I'll have this done quick. Right, my exit strategy wasn't quick. It wasn't, and retrospectively, I need to have multiple exit strategies. I don't need to trust one GC. I should have got multiple quotes from multiple people that I could trust, because you want to get in and out if you're fixing flipping, or you just got to be able to pivot too in real estate. You go in one angle, you may have to come out a different angle. So in other markets, again, I'm speaking specifically for Nashville, we have 4 different exit strategies. What we're going to do with this is we're going to turn it to an Airbnb. CMA Fest is coming. We should get some nice returns on it there. After that, we got an option to do LTR with it. So we'll probably rent it out long term, or another thing could be Furnish Finder, get you a nurse in there. So just make sure you have multiple exit strategies, but I can't stress enough how important your GC is. Like, I can't stress enough how important having a team of well-qualified subs, well-qualified people that are going to get in, do the job efficiently. Make sure you pay your team. Make sure you pay them handsomely. Maybe even tip them, bring them some beers and some chips on the job. Take care of your people and get in and get out, because you don't want to sit there and have your money held up, because that could be money going to your family, a different project, something.
Yeah, and listen, this is no different than any other industry. You want to take care of people who are doing the job well and are doing it quickly for you, because it's just like tipping. You want somebody to want to work with you. Mm-hmm. If you're the jerk on the job and they can't stand you, now there is a case for making sure that your GC has a healthy fear of you, basically making sure they're not going to try to get over. But once you have established that relationship, you're going to do things the right way if you're my GC. But at the same time, when you do that, I'm going to reward you, and I'm going to make you want to ask me, hey, do you have any other projects we can do, versus putting me on the back burner because I'm the last person you want to work with.
Exactly. And that's crucial. And especially in Nashville, people are stealing labor. Now, people will come to your job site, offer a little bit more money, and take the labor at your job. And now you're scrambling trying to find other contractors to help you complete a job. So, yeah, I can't stress that enough, man. And really educating yourself on the entire process from start to finish. I mean, from start to the close date, from financing, you have to understand all aspects of your financing, because you don't want to jump into something and be upside down and have an incredible experience, because everybody thinks fix and flips are easy. They see it on HGTV. I invest 30. I pull out 90. Like, it's not always like that.
Right.
That's not real estate. Real estate is taking losses, learning, getting back on your feet, executing, and learning from those losses. Everything is not pretty and sweet.
That's going to be a constant theme throughout everything that we do, and it's a mindset shift from thinking that losses are losing. It's not.
No.
So you'll hear us say all the time, we're not losing, we're learning.
Yeah, it's no loss.
And that's what
I've
it's about,
learned
is education.
so much. I could probably flip multiple homes at once now. I know exactly what to do. And not only does that make me an asset to myself and my family and friends, to my clients and my customers too.
Right.
So I could tell, like, look, actually, crazy enough, I literally got a friend under contract for a flip the other day, walked her through the whole process. Now, this is where it comes in at risk mitigation. Like, she may not, she may listen to this. I told her from jump, you may not have a stomach for this. You may just want to get you a long term. So we moved through. Actually, our due diligence period was up yesterday. So we'll see if she has a stomach for it.
Time.
Yeah, but now I'm telling her exactly what to do. I told her all upfront risk, all because of my quote unquote losses, right? And now I'm a better asset to her, because 100%. I've been through it and I've seen it. So now I can educate her on a whole different level than I would have been able to, 2 or 3 years ago. So it's everything's a blessing depending on how you look at it. But you have to find you a local expert. I mean, somebody that other agents look up to and lean on, and then execute.
I think that's important for all areas of real estate, investing, all those different things, whether it is the properties that you're buying, the strategy that you want to use, or credit and lending. Arthur, a good friend of ours, great lender out of Houston.
Shout out to
I do a lot of work with Armando San Miguel here for a local lender. Some people really prefer local lenders.
Correct.
Both of those are great, but it's important to make sure you have somebody that understands the market and is going to hold your hand and walk you through the process. I'm not going to go on and bash big banks, but what I'm telling you is, if you're working with a big bank, if you need something Friday at 6 p.m. to close on Monday, good luck, because they ain't answering the phone, and you're not going to talk to them on the weekend. We can call both of those guys on Sunday afternoon, and they're going to answer the phone. So making sure that you have a team, whether it's contractors, lenders, credit.
Tell them what you mean by big banks, too. Tell them what you mean by big.
So everybody that you see commercials for, like, we could...
Like national.
Yeah, you see the commercial. If you see the commercials, you're going to be working with somebody who might be all the way across the country, and they're trying to fit a loan product into what you do, versus somebody who understands the local market, understands the things that are shifting, and they're probably at a little bit of a smaller bank, or working with a smaller mortgage company, but they are hands-on.
Right.
A lot of them have what's called an in-house underwriting system, so they're not sending it off to somewhere. They're not faxing in paperwork that's 8 hours away. They're doing it in their office. They're getting the paperwork back, and in less than 24 hours, you're getting your approval and your stuff set up.
Right.
So when we start talking about the timing of things and buying homes and how fast you want to close and different things, making sure that either you have an understanding and you have a team, or you're working with a local expert, an agent that understands that, but that agent has connections and has the team, because it's sometimes it can be about what you know, but a lot of times it's who you know.
Facts.
So make sure that you know people that can get you set up and put you in the right spot, because we're all in this to make money, and we can all help each other make money. And that's something we need to get back to at the end of this, is helping each other. But we can't overstate how important connections, communication, and making sure that you're on top of those things and you have a team that's also on top of those can keep you out of the red.
Yeah, connections is very important in the investment realm. You have to, and this goes back to just being a good person and communicating well and just even spreading good energy to everybody you meet. I've seen a lot of negative, crazy people in this real estate industry. Being a positive and value add type individual will get you really far in real estate in any realm, primary, investing, financing. And especially if you're trying to monetize it, right? If this isn't just a hobby and this is going to be your main career, which is real estate investing, you have to build a good rapport and network and I can't stress this enough, you have to be a positive, good person and not talk crazy about people behind their backs. I see that a lot in real estate. If you're coming to me talking crazy about a lender or anybody, I'm going to assume you're doing the same thing about me to somebody else.
100%.
And 9 times out of 10, that's probably the case. That's why, I've never spoken a bad word about anybody in Nashville real estate. Not behind their backs, not to anybody. And nobody can ever say I have. I don't even want that juju in the universe. But it happens so much because it's such a competitive industry. But what also people don't understand is your only competition should initially be you. And when you're just fighting against you, you don't even worry about anybody else. But back to the big bank thing, I did want to say this. If you have a lender that is off on the weekends, if they have a 9 to 5, then that's where I say, look, you may want to go somewhere else for business-wise. You may want to go look at somebody else if you can't call them on the weekends. If they have a 9 to 5, nothing wrong with that. But if they're off on the weekends and they get off at 5 o'clock, most real estate is done on the weekends, 1. 2, I talk to a ton of lenders 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, 6 p.m. So I've had multiple horror stories about how my clients have been screwed by larger banks. And I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, because you're at their mercy. They could care less whether you close or not.
Yeah, and that's exactly because they're on a salary. They don't care. At 5 o'clock, their phones are off. They don't care about executing the contract and getting things done. And that's sad because we're in a service industry. Not sales really. We're servicing people, but you can't service people when you turn your phone off at 5 p.m. and don't turn it back on until 9 a.m. But nonetheless, I did want to get into the properties you purchased, like a little outside of Nashville, and how you acquire those properties and how you manage those properties too.
Okay, so we own some other properties in and around Nashville. They're mainly long-term rentals. They could be, because they're not in Nashville proper, they're not in the city, they don't have the short-term rental restrictions if we wanted to do that in the future. So that's always, again, like we talked about, multiple exit strategies.
So you can do STR out there.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
It's not appropriate at this time.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a good move. But that, one of the most recent property we acquired was...
Yeah, tell them the location too.
So south of Nashville, Columbia is a great area. It is probably 35 minutes south of Nashville. So Nashville's growing in a way that as long as you're within an hour of Nashville, people are going to start saying, "Oh, you're that's East Nashville, West Nashville."
Correct.
So Columbia is approximately, let's say, halfway, a little closer to Nashville, but halfway between Nashville and Huntsville. So it's a growing area. It's got a great town square. The town square is similar to Franklin, but it's growing at a very large rate. So you have a property down there that we acquired through a hard money from a wholesaler. So we're touching a lot of different things here. I bought it from a wholesaler, used hard money to purchase, flipping that hard money loan into a DSCR, so making sure that my debt service was covered by the rent that I was going to get. Now, the kicker on this is we have a Section 8 tenant.
Okay.
And what Section 8 is government subsidized housing, to where the government gives a voucher to the tenant and that is paid on a monthly basis. So one positive for Section 8 rentals is you're getting paid every month. same day, same time. It's clockwork.
And that's why I wanted to touch on this too. So many investors run from Section 8 when it's a safe play.
Absolutely. You still get to vet the tenants.
Correct.
Like you're not. It's not. You just take anybody who walks in there.
Right.
You vet the tenants. They are heavily motivated to take care of the property. They don't want to lose their voucher. They don't want to be put on the street. So
correct.
We have a great relationship with our tenant, and it's somebody we'd like to keep in there. Are there renovations that are going to have to be done? Yes, just as anybody who's in a house for years and then they move out, you would have to do that. But we know that we're getting money every month. We don't have to, like during COVID, it's paying.
Right.
During an economy shutdown, it's paying. The government's going to pay regardless of the situation. Now, if your tenant in a long-term rental loses their job, you're probably not getting paid. You're probably going to have to go through an eviction process. You're going to have to do all these different things. You're going to have to get that tenant kicked out. Then they may wreck the place. And so you're responsible for that. So there is some risk in those long-term rentals, but we've had success with
Section 8.
Section 8 and short-term or long-term rentals. And that's also another strategy all across the country because you can purchase at lower purchase prices.
Right.
But different cities that are, very heavily structured to take care of the Section 8 community, they pay a very high rent. So it's another strategy that we've used to acquire more properties. We were able to get this property under contract about $80,000 under value. So
I got a question about that. I've never done this, so you educate me. Can you refi a Section 8 property?
Absolutely. But so what happens if you buy a property with hard money, you have a seasoning period, and that's typically 6 months that you have to wait before you can go and get a new appraisal. So if you're going to be doing a little bit of a combo of a fix and flip, if you buy the property for $150 as is, it's worth $200, but you're going to put $10,000 or $15,000 into it, it's going to be worth $250. You can't get a new appraisal for 6 months. You would have to use the $200 appraisal,
Gotcha.
Or you'd have to use the initial purchase price as your point for refinancing. So once you get to the 6 month seasoning period, now you can get a new appraisal, and now I can use that as my basis. So let's continue with those numbers. Like let's say we bought it for $150. It was worth $200, and we put $10,000 down. Let's just say that. So you owe $140 on the house. It's worth $200. So you have 70% loan to value.
LTV.
But when I go back and I get it at $250, now I'm like at almost, half that. So when I get it reappraised at $250 and I want to pull out a cash out refi, I want to do an 80% loan, which would be $200,000. I bought it at $150, put $10,000 down, put $10,000 into it. So I owe $140 and I paid an extra $10. I'm going to refi that at $200,000. So I'm going to get a check for the difference. So I owe $140. They're going to give me a check for $60,000. I put 10 down, I put 10 in, I'm walking away with $40,000, and now I'm going to rent using DSCR through Section 8.
Right.
It's going to cover that. I just made $40,000. I keep the property because we are in a great area for appreciation over time.
Right.
This is going to be a long-term play. So I got all my money back out, all $20,000 back out.
Plus some.
They gave me $40,000.
Right.
Now I can go do it again somewhere else. But now I have somebody that's paying my mortgage for me every month and paying that $200,000 down until it's nothing. And now that $250 property may be worth $350.
Right.
Creating more equity that I could then pull from it if I wanted to and use that to go invest in more properties. So
that's a genius play.
Well, it's a combination of being smart, low risk.
Yeah, low risk for sure.
Really making sure that you have different things set up, different safe ways to keep you from making those pitfalls, and insulating yourself so that you have an asset that's going to grow. And, I think one thing, the reason we believe in real estate, number one, is because we've done it, we've seen it. We've seen it be profitable. We've seen it work over and over and over and over again. But also, we want to encourage people to stay away from some of those depreciating assets. When you're trying to make investments, some people believe, the first thing they should do is get the nice car that they want. Cars are not going up in value. You have your Porsches that do go up in value. You have different cars, exotic cars that may hold value or go up in value. But 99% of the time, when you buy a new car, it's depreciating. It's going to do nothing but be worth less. When you buy a property, 99.9% of the time, it's going up in value. Mm-hmm. It might go down next year or in 6 months, but over time, it's always going to be worth more. So you're investing in something that is going to pay you back. And every month when you make that mortgage payment, you're paying yourself. You're paying the mortgage company some, but you're paying yourself and creating more equity than the home's creating equity for you. So that's why it's a generational wealth play. That's why we're so big and bullish on it, that we think you should buy properties all the time. Yes. Is it self-serving because we're agents and we can make money off of that? But I don't care if you don't use me. Exactly. This is educational for you to make money down the line. Yeah. Please use me as your agent. But if you don't, be smart. Start making money. Yeah, exactly. And real estate's the way. Exactly. And so just beginning that education process, we haven't even got into, and we'll touch on it quickly, and then we'll have some guests in the future that we'll dive in a little deeper. But another strategy is building or developing, and that's something that you're probably not going to make that your first move. But as you try some of these different strategies and different ways to start making money, being a builder and then developing communities is a way that you can put money in, and now you can make that money explode and turn over multiple times. I know you've had some experience with some different people who do that. You talk with them, meet with them on a weekly basis. Talk to us about why that's a good strategy. What are some of the benefits, and then what are some things that you need to make sure you have in line before you want to jump down that?
Man, so I would say the development game is, I think, one of those I would liken to the fix and flip and the Airbnb and development. People just see like the shiny, fancy side of it instead of the grimy, because it's hard work. Actually, I had a conversation with Abram Mitchell, and he kind of likened it to, he would say like wholesaling would be freshman year. Development, that's when you're a senior, maybe even like grad school, right? Like when you get to that level. Another tidbit of info he shared with me was like, he was like, don't even try to jump in the development game unless you have like $200K just chilling, that you're able to have some risk there. So when you get into development,
this is not part of the start tomorrow strategy.
No. This is
But if you do have $200K sitting around, contact us immediately. We'll help you use it.
And really, that's kind of where like the consultation can come in, right? And sit down with somebody and tell them different ways that their money can make money. But the development game, man, it's complex. It's not as easy as people think. It's saying like, let me just get land acquisition and then just start building right there. You have to go through the city codes, permits, ordinances. It's so complex. Generally, a builder will tell you, look, man, I can build this house in 3 months. And again, I'm speaking specifically Nashville, Middle Tennessee. Every county has different codes. Builders have told me, look, I can build the same house in 3 months, but the city, it's going to take me 4 months. And when you have that 4-month period, you're paying every day, lights, water, hard money costs, construction loans. So it's just not as simple as people think, which is why I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I'm not trying to discourage anybody. By all means, do your due diligence in your education and jump in it. But it's not as easy as people think. Make sure that you have some steady income, because with the development game, you're not going to get paid for 12 months sometimes, right? It may be longer depending on the size of the product. So as long as you have some money and income generating, and you have adequate savings, I would say don't even think about jumping into the development game. And I will say this, for real estate agents, I don't know why every real estate agent isn't a real estate investor. Like, it's our job to find these properties. It's our job to find off-market acquisitions. It's our job and you have a built-in down payment. Like I just don't know why every real estate agent isn't also a real estate investor. Real estate agents should be the best developers out here. Which is crazy to me. But as far as the development side goes, I would like to have, man, I got 2 or 3 really good builders that would be great for the show, that will give us the nuances, the high sides to it, the downsides. But from what I've learned, and it is different when you sit at that table, you see that altar statement, how much you make compared to what that builder is making. It's nuts. Like the payout for these builders sometimes is nuts. And liking it back to what Abram said on his last podcast, I heard him say like his biggest check was $350, off one project, $350,000 off one project. Now, of course, that took him years to get to that level, but that's the type of payouts, as opposed to, our checks, people think we get 3%. We don't always get 3%, but say if we get, a fraction of a 2.5% compared to a builder getting $350K. So as long as you have patience and due diligence, I love the development game. Like that's one of my end goals, man, is I want to build a community, name it after my daughter, and name the lanes after my family members, and develop an entire subdivision, essentially. Like that's like, when I'm 60, 70 years old, living on my boat. That's what I want to have going on, because I know it's going to take some years, and it's something that's going to be, easy. But that's my end goal, is jumping into development, right? Like had a real estate company operating, moving in the background, and then jumping into the development side. But that's the benefits of development, is you can jump in, man, 1 or 2 nice cheap land acquisitions, off market acquisitions can change your life.
Oh yeah, and. There's so many different nuances to it. That's why a lot of these different strategies they deserve their own episode, and we'll bring in some experts to kind of take us down those roads and help out with that. One last thing, this also needs its own episode, because we'll touch on it quickly. Multifamily, not just small multifamily. We're talking about quadplexes, duplexes, triplexes, apartment complexes. Yeah. Townhome communities, hotels, different things like that. There is an entire segment that is only investing in that and figuring out how to use that as short-term rentals, figuring out how to use it as long-term rentals, being able to use those tax depreciations and the different strategies that you can use around that. Multifamily is a very profitable investment strategy. Mm-hmm. But again, it's one of those similar to building and developing. It takes a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more experience, and either the funds or the ability to build a business plan out so that you can go to a bank and show, hey, here's my plan. Here's why I have this much money, and you should give me the rest of it.
Yeah, correct. That commercial game is lucrative. Again, you got to have that patience. But I will say this too: we do need to do a show on financing, like how to get the money for these. Like start from top to bottom. And like we said initially, to round it all the way back, credit. Credit's the first step. Credit and leverage, especially when you get in these high multifamily. Credit and leverage.
All right, let's hit our top 5, our random top 5 to end the episode.
Yeah, let's knock it out.
I'm going into this completely blind, so this is going to be real interesting.
All right, I want to do this top 5, man. Do top 5 locations around our city where you should invest. Like if somebody's listening to this and they're saying, and actually before we get into this, I don't know if you saw that video. So many people have been sending me this. It was like top 10 worst places to invest is like Nashville. This guy had
trash.
Bro, he had all his facts wrong. It's all clickbait, which is nuts. He said it was 6,500 available homes. It's insane. Like, I don't know, but people really like believe that until that's why I tell all my people, be critical thinking investors. Like, don't read a headline and fall victim to just a headline. Be 100%. Critical thinking investors. But give me your top 5.
So listen, I'm gonna go top 5 in the Southeast, since we touched on long-term rental, short-term rental, and all the different areas. Yeah. I do truly believe Greater Nashville as a whole is a great investment, whether it's house hacking, whether it's buying a single-family home, where it's buying multifamily. Mm-hmm. If you are very educated on the non-owner occupied versus owner occupied short-term rentals, downtown can be very lucrative. So Nashville, I'll go into a little deeper why Nashville is such a great investment opportunity, and why it's also, in my opinion, I wouldn't call it necessarily bulletproof, recession-proof, things like that, but why it is better positioned than a lot of other major markets to withstand any type of recession or negative economic impacts. And a lot of that is because of our tax situation. I tell my clients we are triple tax prepared in the terms that there is no state income tax in Tennessee.
Huge.
Our property taxes are much lower than all of your major tax states, but also our property taxes are significantly lower than the other non-state income taxes. So when you compare us to Texas and you compare us to Florida, our property taxes are generally around 40% of what even those states are paying.
Correct.
So again, that gives us another leg up on that. Nashville in particular, but Tennessee as a whole, is also very business friendly when it comes to making business tax deals for corporations.
Just like they did with Oracle.
Exactly. So they're going to cut them some tax breaks, which is going to have them move their business here, which is going to have them move their employees here. So even if it wasn't a great state income tax state, even if it wasn't a great low property tax state, you have businesses that want to invest in this city, which is going to make property value go up. Correct. So property value goes up. We have more people coming in. If rates stay high, guess what's going to happen? We're not going to have move-up buyers. We're not going to have people that are selling their 2% mortgaged home and purchasing a 7% mortgaged home. That's going to depress, like it is right now, it's going to depress the inventory, along with holding cost and loan costs being higher for builders, which is slowing their rate of their build. Again, depressing the inventory. Now you've got people moving here for jobs. You've got people moving here to get away from high income tax states. Like California, I believe, is around 14% state income tax.
No, California is the the majority of people that relocate are coming from Cali.
They're coming from your high tax states. They're coming from California. They're coming from Illinois. They're coming from New York, New Jersey. And so you have the state income tax people that are just coming here even without a corporation coming here. And then you have the property tax people. We'll use Chicago, for example. There are some people that own, a $700,000, $600,000, $800,000 home in Chicago and the suburbs surrounding it. They're paying $4,000 a month in property tax. I had some clients come here. They wanted to buy a similar home to what they had. They gave their budget. Let's just say it was $700,000. We went and looked at a couple of homes, and they said, "Well, tell us about the taxes. What are the taxes here?" And I said $3,600. And okay, all right, $3,600 a month. That's about $400 less. That's a good saving. I said, "No, hold on. It's $3,600 for the year."
Right.
And they lost their mind. And what that equated to was an extra $500,000 to $700,000 in buying power. So now for what they were paying in Chicago monthly for a $700,000 home, they could buy a $1.3 million house and pay less.
Crazy. And those are the people that don't care about interest rates.
Exactly.
Those people, and that's what makes it hard for locals.
So our local buyers are continuing to struggle because they're getting outbid by people that are coming from out and saying, "Look how great this is. This is
it's cheap,
the land of good and plenty." So that's why Nashville is a big number one for me. We're in the market. We watch it every day. But in terms of why Nashville, those are the reasons why. There's so many people coming in. Now, as we start to look around Nashville, I think you could go 3 or 4 different areas where your purchase price is going to be lower. We're going to make this one area. We'll call this your like Centerville, Hickman County area, which is just west of Nashville, much lower.
Is that number 2? That's your number 2?
No, I'm making my number 2.
Oh, like a whole
Centerville,
I got you.
Columbia, like out Lebanon, Watertown. Those different areas, because Clarksville blew up. Clarksville was the most undervalued
Clarksville is one of the most progressive cities in the country.
Exactly. And so I think you're going to start to see some of the same things. Now, Clarksville is much bigger infrastructure-wise than these other areas I'm about to mention, but they're going to grow. So Lebanon, Watertown area,
I love Lebanon.
It's in a great school district. And then you swing down to like Columbia, Spring Hill, Fairview. Also Fairview's in a great school district. Half of Spring Hill's in a great school district. Those home prices are going up because of that. Columbia has a very home feel, a hometown feel, small town feel, but it's growing leaps and bounds. And then, that Centerville, Hickman County that's just west has lower traffic in and out of the city than a lot of different places. All of those places you can get lower purchase prices, and you still have access to long-term rental, short-term rental, fix and flip opportunities. And you have opportunities to buy land there. So, as Nashville grows, and it will, it's Atlanta 5 to 10 years ago. So as that continues to explode, those areas are going to become quote unquote Nashville.
Yeah, we don't have any choice. We don't have any land left. Either.
Right. We don't have places to go. So, if you can stay in that circle, if you were to draw a circle around Nashville and you touched Clarksville, Centerville, Columbia, let's just say Watertown, out on the outskirts of Gallatin, made that one big circle, that's going to be considered Nashville. And if you're anywhere close to that circle, you're going to make money because your values are going to continue to accelerate. Yeah. The next couple I'll mention are short-term rental havens, because the ROI is the best in the country in these three areas. Nashville, as a short-term rental, is one of the best as well. It's one of the top 5. Mm-hmm. You have Gatlinburg, which is in Tennessee. Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge. Those home prices have shot up significantly, but you're still getting great ROI on your investment with short-term rentals. There are people that are buying $600,000 to $800,000 houses, and they are getting an income $120,000 a year as far as gross return. Unheard of. Your Gulf Coast. So, and the reasons for these three in particular, Gatlinburg, Gulf Coast as a whole, and then Orlando would be my last one. As people continue to flood the Southeast from all over the country, one of the first questions we always get is, where do you guys vacation? Where do people go? Well, they go to the Gulf Coast because they can drive there. It's a 6-hour drive.
It's a quick drive.
You're 3 hours from the Smoky Mountains and Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge. People go there year round. And that's why that one is a great investment, because people don't just go. Like, you go to the beach during the summer. You can spring and fall some, but you don't really go during the winter. The Smoky Mountains is year round. Mm-hmm. So you're getting a ton of money there. Gulf Shores, Alabama, Orange Beach, Alabama, Destin, Panama City. And then as you start to go east, Mexico Beach, Port St. Joe, places like that, that whole Gulf area, there's not very much sand left to build on, period. And all those people are moving here. They need somewhere to go. They look for that white sand. It's a great investment. The ROI is great, not as good as Gatlinburg, but unreal there. The last one would be Orlando, and that's basically just because of Disney World. And you have, if you can get short-term rentals in Orlando that are close to the parks, you can theme out houses. We'll have some people on that have done that, bought those properties, made it a Disney theme. You have people traveling from all over the world to go to Disney World in Orlando. It's in Florida. The weather's great. You have all those positive things going. So as my top 5, I would say Nashville in general. I would say number 2, Nashville outskirts. Number 3, Gatlinburg for short-term rentals. Number 4, Gulf Coast short-term rentals. Number 5, Orlando area short-term rentals.
That's solid. That's some solid intel you gave right there, dog.
It's a little long-winded, but I had to get it all out, man, because I'm very passionate about those 5 areas.
Yeah, no, that's very informative.
You can't lose money in those areas.
Yeah, that's very informative.
What about you? You got anything?
Man, mainly I was thinking.
Speak. I want you to speak more towards Nashville infield.
Yeah, that's
and,
where
and
I
kind
was
of understanding the different areas that are all Nashville, that are all downtown Nashville. But which 5 areas are kind of poised to pop?
Man, so one, and again, this is Nashville, Greater Nashville, Metro Nashville is my number 1. If you can find anything, right? So from an investor standpoint, Greater Nashville would be where I would start. From a local, like if you're local, right, and you don't have investor money, Lebanon would probably be my number 1. You can still leverage a lot of financing and get you a really nice primary home in Lebanon, Tennessee right now. I've seen, they're literally probably upwards of, $2 or $3 billion investing, national builders investing in Lebanon, Tennessee. Next, honestly, would be Columbia, Like I love Columbia right now. I've had 3 or 4 people list $800,000-$900,000 homes in Columbia. When you look at like 4 or 5 years ago, that was unheard of. That square is going to be crazy. And here's another thing too. I'm seeing people really monetize STR in Columbia right around that square.
Listen, the square, man, if you're local and you're listening to this, make a trip, go to Columbia. It's not that crazy of a trip. Get you an Airbnb.
Yeah.
There's a thing in the spring and the summer called First Fridays, man. They shut the square down.
Is that Mule Day? Is that the same as
No,
Mule
so
Day?
Mule Day was it was actually April Fool's Day this year. We went.
Shout out to
it's
Mule
a
Day.
great event, Mule Day. You have to look that up and check it out.
So Mule Day is not First Friday.
No, Mule Day is its own day every year.
I've never gone to any of
It's
that.
parades. You're coming with me next year. We got to go to do Mule Day, and you're coming to First Friday. So they basically shut the square down.
Yeah.
No traffic. It's all walking. People can drink and walk. You got food trucks everywhere. And the businesses on the square are open all night. So, they've got a ton of those businesses. I can't confirm this. I believe that a country music legend, perhaps.
And scale.
No, the rumor is that initials GB have bought an entire corner.
Garth Brooks.
An entire corner. Wow. I mean, it doesn't matter. You just did.
That's what I did hear. Garth Brooks is out there.
So supposedly bought an entire corner of the square, and there's going to be like I think there's plans for different honky tonk bars and places like that. So I'm with you. I think it's a place that's poised to just take off.
I mean, honestly, just from the price point, the appreciation over the last 72 months in Columbia is crazy. So especially seeing that they're getting STR business, which really, if you follow just the commercial game, the residential game would be right behind it. That's why I like Clarksville too. I really do like Clarksville. It's not outgrowing the military premise that they had, but there are so many people moving to Clarksville from all over the country. I had a couple move from Boston that specifically wanted to go to Clarksville, Tennessee. And primarily too because the commute. Like people around here hate commutes.
Right.
They're fine with a 60-minute commute to the city of Nashville.
Right.
Which I think is going to be the next project too. We're going to have hour-long commutes. It's going to be very normal. In the
Start working on some public transit.
Yeah, in the next 5 to 10 years, an hour commute to the city is going to be normal. You're going to have to really invest in locations an hour outside the city. It's no more land in Nashville anymore either. And it's really overpriced.
What about let's speak on this because there's some things that are coming in the next couple of years specific to different areas downtown. Talk about East Bank, talk about South Bank, talk about Germantown, different things like that.
So man, East Bank. This is my if you're giving me off-wall predictions about what East Bank is going to do. I think, and I said this the other day. I don't think that downtown is ever going to just be obsolete. It's not going to be like a ghost town, but I truly believe East Bank is going to be like the new downtown.
100%.
Like it's going to replace Broadway. You got Oracle, you got the new Titan Stadium, you got some crazy hotels. You can have the harbor coming down. It's going to be nuts what it's going to be.
And let me say this for people who either aren't familiar with the downtown setup or aren't familiar with downtown Nashville at all. It's not like East Bank is on the other side of the city.
No.
You can see Broadway from East Bank.
Yeah.
So he's not saying that people are going to go far away. And if you have not been to Nashville, let me tell you this, as we travel a decent amount, the reason I love Nashville and the reason I tell people Nashville is better than any other city, it is the most organized nightlife and set up for tourists of any city. Like you can hit Broadway. You know what's on Broadway. You know what's on 2nd. You know what's on Demumbrian. You're going to know what's at the East Bank. Like you know where it is, and all of it's walkable to each other. So it's
historic. I mean, just the country music alone, honestly. We got some of the nicest studios in the country. Jay-Z and Beyonce come here and record. Everybody comes here to record. So, and the history just in the city is a huge attraction. I mean, that would probably be like the number 4th sentiment when you were saying behind people moving here. History. We got a pretty adequate, nice, substantial historic value in the city. But my last location would be Gatlinburg too. That would be my fifth, would be Gatlinburg. And I'm saying these because I always like to think from that mindset of just like an average, first time buyer. Gatlinburg is you're priced out, unless you're spending, at least $400K in Gatlinburg. But as far as ROI, man, I saw a place in Gatlinburg for 1.6, and they were looking at, returns of almost 200K annually.
It's wild, man.
And that's just nuts, and especially like even if you have a good 1031 exchange and you want to just place some money in Gatlinburg, like I would easily, that would probably be number one on my list for a safe play, safe year-round play investment.
I can't disagree with you at all. Listen, man, we've taken up
we
a
can
lot
talk
of your
about
time.
this all day.
Yeah, and we're gonna get more specific on some of these strategies. But at the end of the day, I think what we want you to take away is that you can start this and you can start making money on real estate tomorrow. Like it's there's nothing that is out of the realm of possibility as long as you are willing to take some steps. You can contact us personally. You can contact us on the podcast page, the Instagram page. Yeah. But if you have questions about some of those specific things, we'll answer them for you. We're available to continue to educate and make these things more realistic possibilities for you if it's something you're interested in.
Everybody can buy real estate.
Yeah, and you should.
Everybody can buy real estate.
Our goal with this is to put more money in your hands, put more knowledge in your heads,
right,
and then also just
empower you
and have a good time while we're doing it. So appreciate you guys checking back in with us. We've got some pretty interesting episodes coming up that are going to bring in some entrepreneurs that work in different business areas, but they also use some of those dividends and that profit to invest in real estate, and they take that profit and invest in more companies. So
correct.
We don't want to be stagnant on real estate. We'll always use that as kind of a base for where we go. But at the same time, we want to give you more options. What can you do with that profit? How can you make more money that you can now invest in other real estate and then take that real estate money and invest in other ventures as well? So
I love it.
Again, thank you for joining us. Equity Brothers, episode 2 is a wrap.
Anything is possible. Yeah. Trying to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles, cause anything is possible. Hey. Oh man,